As we get into the books, I always think the one thing that people should be reminded is that it's kind of like asking what's your favorite restaurant, right? What's your favorite book? Just to be here among the finalists and for the semifinalists as well is quite an accomplishment, much more than anything I've been able to undertake as far as actually writing a book, much less having it recognized in this manner. So it is a night to celebrate everyone who is a part of this contest and who also keeps the spirit of racing alive in literature, which is so important and is not easy to come by really these days in any subject, I would say, but particularly for horse racing. I like to read a little bit of the books and just give you a little touch or flavor, hopefully to entice you, if you haven't already, to come over to the table. And even if you've already read the book, buy some more and help those authors. We also are really lucky because not only are the books that are the finalists here, but other works by those authors are also available. So maybe if you've read the book already that's being recognized, you might pick up the other one. We'll start with John Perrotta's A Beggar's Ride. And I'm fortunate to have known John for many, many years, back to the old Gulfstream Park days at kind of a different time and place. And he was definitely in a different occupation. At that time, he was working for Robert Brennan and Due Process Stables, but he has worn many hats. He has been on the racetrack virtually his entire life. Bills himself as a horseman as well as an entrepreneur in racing, now living in Ireland with a tolerant wife and 2 annoying but well-loved small dogs. He's worked as a jockey agent, a radio executive. If you listen to Steve Bick today on the radio, he was kind of the person that started that show in its earliest days. Radio executive, racing manager, horse breeder, and was at one time the vice president and GM of Santa Anita Park, as well as a screenwriter for HBO's horse racing series, Luck. I'll read a little of his book and then I'll read his letter. Now the book, A Beggar's Ride, is basically a sequel to a previous book that he authored where he introduced us to a racetracker, but who encountered a lot of trouble wherever he went, which could be expected. And in A Beggar's Ride, he ultimately, the same character, ends up in Ireland in equally similar circumstances, dire circumstances along the way, but introduces the reader to not only a lifetime on the racetrack, but also a lot about travel of racehorses between countries, which I found fascinating and learned quite a bit. And one of the beauties of John's books overall is that while most recent works may be fiction, they are very factually accurate in the details as to life on the racetrack. So at any race course, the track kitchen is in the heart of the barn area, beating steadily no matter if the races are running or not. And when the winter meet at Santa Anita is running, the big meet has the strongest beat of them all. There was a grand old sepia photo of the track on the wall, at least a 4 by 8 foot aerial shot that was likely taken back in the 40s, back when the parking lot was filled and huge crowds jammed the racetracks, even on weekdays. Folks coming out to see horses like Seabiscuit or Citation or Silky Sullivan, ones they could tell their grandkids about. A few more photos of movie stars were scattered on other walls. Several coats of green paint peeling off the frames. Lucille Ball and Ava Gardner, Bing Crosby, Pat O'Brien, Cary Grant and Clark Gable, all the men wearing hats, some sporting bow ties and the women in fancy dresses like they might go out dancing afterward. He wondered what had become of those other people, the ones who weren't movie stars, those who had driven there in their black sedans more than 50 years ago, and what kind of lives they had lived. If they knew how lucky they were to see the game at its peak, when the name of the Derby winner was on everyone's lips, and most folks loved nothing better than a tip on a horse. He wondered how many had thought they were putting the grocery money on a sure thing and lost their home and their family, how many took their kids to the races, and their kids became part of the crowd that was here today. He figured not a lot of them were still alive. Ham looked over where the Mexicans had been, and they were gone. Instead, there was a small guy in jeans and a green plaid shirt, a flak vest, and riding boots with a green shamrock on his white helmet cover. An exercise rider or a jockey. He was picking up some cash off the floor like he just found it, a couple of bills, when a pager on his belt chirped, distracting him. The way he glanced around to see if anyone was looking, you could tell the money probably wasn't his, maybe dropped by the Mexicans. He stuffed it in his vest pocket and headed for the door. Hale realized the cashier was still standing there, watching him daydream. That's A Beggar's Ride. I mentioned John is unable to be with us. He is in Ireland and has had some health struggles, but fortunately is doing very well. But he has Corey Johnson in his steed representing him today, and Corey actually was a participant in the book award several years ago with a book authored by Bob Fortis that was one of the finalists. So it's good to have you back, Corey. Here is the letter from John. Carrie, Cahill staff, and dear friends, it's nearly impossible to express how disappointed I am not to be there with you for the Dr. Tony Ryan Awards. For those of you not familiar with me, I was fortunate enough to have spent a lifetime around thoroughbred horses and the people who love them. A lifetime that included several careers, beginning in my teens as a hot walker, followed by a sports writer, jockey's agent, racing official, stable manager and breeder, radio executive, track manager, and eventually back to my first love, writer. I was a mature 62 when David Milch contacted me and asked would I assist in bringing a racetrack story to the HBO screen. Luck was born, and I got to work with the finest writers, Jay Hubdy, Bill Barrich, Waylon Green, Eric Roth, and of course the great Milch himself. It was elation of the highest degree, followed by devastating disappointment when Luck was canceled. As an alternative to suicide, I began writing again. First was Racetracker, an account of my life with grifters and gamblers, followed by several works of fiction, which is my true passion. I am pleased that A Beggar's Ride has been so well accepted. The story of the young man who came to age on the backstretch in If Wishes Were Horses continues to intrigue me, and I hope it does you as well. I had the privilege of meeting and dining with Dr. Ryan many years ago, and have since followed the course of his awards. Many fine writers and storytellers have crossed this stage, and I am humbled to be included among them. Please accept my apologies for not being there with you in person. Nothing would have pleased me more, but my ongoing health challenges of the past few years have conspired to deny me that pleasure. Thank you again, John Perrotta.